In this movie, we'll take a brief look at some of the things you might consider if you're choosing a UML modelling tool. We'll start by pointing out the obvious sources of information on modelling tools, then discuss the range of tools, and finally run through some of the criteria you might use in choosing a tool. The Object Management Group maintains a list of UML modelling tools on its website. This is split into a list of those provided by OMG member organisations and those provided by non-members. Member organisations are more likely to be up to date and more compliant than non-members. Wikipedia is an obvious source of information and has a list of tools. These vary considerably in scope, quality, and how finished and usable they are. Some of them are also out of date in terms of the version of UML that they support. A whole spectrum of tools is available for producing UML diagrams and models, starting with drawing tools, which may just allow you to draw shapes and add text, or may have some kind of templates for the standard UML shapes. Next in complexity are typically visualization tools for IDEs, which allow you to visualize elements of your code in UML form. This is usually limited to class diagrams. Once you start looking at proper modeling tools, there are single-user tools that allow you to create models and diagrams, but don't allow a team to work together on a project except by copying files. The more sophisticated tools are corporate tools, designed to be used in an organizational context with teams of analysts, designers, and developers sharing a repository and being able to access it simultaneously, possibly with version control. Finally, there are tool suites which provide other capabilities, including not just other notations, but support for other disciplines like enterprise architecture or business process improvement, and integration with project management. In some cases, these are built into the software. In others, there are a series of separate modules that have to be purchased. So let's look at the selection criteria. The first one is about the completeness of the tool in terms of UML. Do you need all the different types of UML diagrams? If so, then you need to find a tool that supports them all. If not, then you may find a less sophisticated or cheaper tool. You should also check which version of UML is supported. While it's not always necessary to be on the very latest version, it may have an impact on the ability to interchange models with other organizations like suppliers or customers. You should also think about whether you need a tool that supports other notations. Obvious ones include some kind of business process modeling notation like BPMN, and maybe a notation for entity relationship diagrams for database modeling. If you need them, do they come as standard, or do you need to pay extra? Cost is an obvious criterion, and you need to consider the initial cost and the kinds of licenses available, but also the cost of maintenance, which should include upgrades and support. If you're a single user or a very small team, you may be happy with a single user modeling tool, but for larger teams or organizations, you should consider whether the tool you're planning to buy supports multiple users working on the same model through some kind of corporate repository. Indeed, you may have a corporate repository containing corporate models and models for individual projects. You may also need version control and should consider whether the tool you're choosing supports integration with a version control system and whether that's proprietary or uses an open standard. The ability to share and publish your models is important. You may want to generate documents for other stakeholders, though some tools will generate documents that are hundreds of pages long that no one is ever going to read. You may want to publish the model as HTML. It's often useful to publish your model as a microsite on an intranet so that people in the organization have access to the model in read-only format. You could link that to social media to allow them to comment on the model. You may want reports that give you metrics about your project, how many use cases there are of each level of complexity, for example, so that you can use it for estimating effort. The ability to import and export models as XML model interchange format files may be important if you're collaborating with other organizations that use other modeling tools. If you want to automate code generation or the generation of database schemas from the model, you'll want model-driven architecture capabilities in the tool you use. Less likely, but still possible, is that you'll want to extend UML for some specific purpose. As an enterprise architect, I've used UML to create a profile for capability modeling, based on the way that capabilities are defined in the UK Ministry of Defence Architecture Framework, and now I can use those diagrams in my model. There are other possible requirements you may have, such as the ability to script aspects of the modeling tool, but the ones we've covered in this movie give you some thoughts on what to look for.